We got two types of engines, two-stroke and four-stroke. What's the difference? In a four-stroke engine, an engine will actually make two complete revolutions to equal one cycle. One cycle is intake, compression, power, and exhaust. There's four complete different events that take place, and they take place one at a time. It takes two complete revolutions of a crankshaft to actually achieve that. And the picture that I handed out with your handouts goes through and shows those differences.
Do they have any two-stroke cars? There's only like
Two-stroke cars.
from movie and stuff.
I don't know that I've ever seen a two-stroke car. They have two-stroke diesel engines in big equipment. Detroit makes a two-stroke diesel engine, but I don't believe I've ever seen a two-stroke car. They have motorcycles and ATVs and snowmobiles, four-wheelers. Almost everything except for the auto industry, I've seen two-strokes. And one of the big reasons you probably don't see in the auto industry is because of the emissions. So auto industry is always the first person to deal with emissions because there's so many automobiles, and two-strokes tend to have a lot of emission problems. You're seeing that if you're paying any attention to any magazines. Two-strokes, chainsaws, blowers are fighting the emissions problem. Ben?
Is the power stroke also the same as the compression?
A power stroke is just a name given to a type of engine. It's a four-stroke diesel engine with direct injection carbon.
I've heard it instead of compression also called power stroke, actually, not just the engine type.
It's using compression ignition. Every diesel engine, no matter whether it's four-stroke or two-stroke, is using compression ignition. That's how a diesel works. They're going to use the heat of compression of that piston compressing the air and then put fuel in it. And so every diesel engine uses heat of compression. Power stroke is just a name that they give to Ford's engine. And it's kind of like calling it a Cummins. We call it a power stroke. It's just a fancy name. What's the new Chevy one that's out? Duramax. Duramax is a brand name. It's like calling it a crescent wrench or an adjustable wrench. It's a brand name. So that's what that is. It doesn't have anything to do with how it works. A four-stroke can be a diesel or a gas. Everything I showed you with the diesel engines out there are all four-stroke diesels. It can be diesel or gas. The advantages of a four-stroke engine, the first one is emissions. Since I'm not mixing the oil in the fuel and I'm not actually trying to burn that oil, your emissions problem is greatly reduced. And so the number one reason why people don't like two-strokes is emissions. You see the guy start the chainsaw like I did out there, and it starts smoking really bad. The guy's using a power blower, and there's a trail of smoke wherever he goes. And it's an emissions problem. Second advantage is I don't have to mix it. I don't have to worry about, is it 50 to 1 on this one, or is it 32 to 1, or is it 10 to 1, or is it 100 to 1? What is my mix ratio? I don't have to try to mix the two fuels together before I put it in. So it's the whole issue of dealing with oil and gas and trying to mix them up. The other advantage of a two or four-stroke is the fact that it has a lot higher low-end torque. Two-stroke engines have their power at the top end of their engine. Four-strokes, down at an idle or just above an idle, they have a lot of low-end torque. They can actually be running at a low RPM and produce a lot of power. And so they don't get their power at the top end. They get speed at high RPMs, they get torque at low RPMs.